Hey guys, you're watching Jason Creel and the Lawn Care Life YouTube channel. I want to talk to you about an important topic today for your lawn care business, and I guess you could say it's an important topic for life in general, and that is the term cash flow. But I want to approach this mostly from a lawn business side, but I wanted to offer out the suggestion, is it possible that the word cash flow or the concept of cash flow is actually a little bit overrated? Stay tuned. So we all know, we're in business, we have a lawn business, we want to make money, and it's not only how much money you're making, but when the money is actually coming in is an important factor too, and that's the whole concept of cash flow. How long does it take to keep the money coming in? Do I have to wait 2 months to get paid, or do I get paid on on the spot or the next day, or how does it work? And so we all, I think, have theories about how we're going to approach this idea of cash flow, and we put a value on it. But I think, like a lot of things, there is a value to cash flow, but there's also a limit to the value of cash flow. Basically the question is, what are you willing to give up in the name of cash flow? Let me give you an example. So I think another area of life that I sometimes think gets a little out of control, which is a really good thing, but not an ultimate thing, is the area of education. Now, I've had a formal education, and I'm constantly trying to get more education, whether through reading or through the internet or through talking to other people. So, what I'm saying, I'm not underestimating education by any means. But what I'm saying is, at the same time, would you be willing to spend maybe $150,000 for a degree from a private school to learn about hotel management, or learn about physical education or something like that? To me, that's where, in the name of education, we go a little bit overboard and make some decisions that aren't that good. Well, let's examine that as far as cash flow goes in a lawn care business. Now, where this got to my mind was the beginning of the year, and in the beginning of the year, I send out a prepay letter to my customers. And I'm doing weed control and fertilization. I used to do the same thing when I was doing a lot of mowing. But basically, on that first service for me in the weed control and the mowing, I would send the letter out before the season. But I will leave a letter with the first invoice at the first service of the year, and it gives the customer an option to prepay for the entire year at a 5% discount. Now, this is a cash flow decision for me and my business. If I can get all the money for that year up front for 5% less, then to me it's worth it. It means, one, less billing and invoicing that I'm going to have to handle throughout the year. Two, it means I've got the money up front. If I need to take that money and do something with it, that's a good thing. Three, oftentimes it gives you some level of security with that customer. Not that they wouldn't fire me, or that if they did, I wouldn't pay them back what their balance was. But usually when they prepay for the year, they're pretty much going to stick with you. That's good. Four, from a scheduling standpoint, people that I'm not waiting on a payment from, I can go and perform their next weed control treatment or fertilization when it needs to be done without having to wait or contact them about a missed payment or something like that. So there's some advantage from a business standpoint for me, but again, my value on that cash flow is 5%, and I think that's worth it. Now, I know of competitors who offer 10%. They put a different value. Does that mean that I'm right and they're wrong? I don't think so. But in my opinion, I'm just not willing to put a 10% value on cash flow. Now, perhaps they mark the prices up 5% and then discount it 10%, so they're really only giving a 5%. I don't know how they're doing it, but I'm just saying, for me, it's not worth 10%. Now, where else does this come into play? We talk about credit cards. I have probably half of my customers pay me with a credit card. The other half pay with a check or some sort of online banking or something like that. Well, the credit cards, there's a transaction fee, 2.85% or something like that. Again, that's a cash flow topic. I mean, it's also convenience for the customer, convenience for me. I don't have to record the check. I don't have to go to the bank, deposit check. The money's in my bank in like 2 days. So is it worth 2.85% or 2.9% or whatever it is to have the money get there quicker? you know, I'm not as so much worried about that, but again, it is to me worth 2.whatever% not to have to go to the bank and not to have to chase that money down. So, you know, it doesn't matter to me, but I don't mind giving up that small percentage somewhat in the name of cash flow, but also in the name of convenience. Now, why is the topic of cash flow important? Well, and why would I even insinuate that it's possibly a little bit overrated? Well, I guess sometimes I hear people talk so much about cash flow, and it makes me a little bit nervous of how much emphasis we're actually putting on cash flow. I'm much more interested in actual cash than I am cash flow. Now, I'd rather have both, you know what I'm saying? So let me ask you a question. You know, would you rather make $100,000 profit this year and have every payment delayed by 2 months, or would you rather make, you know, $90,000 and get it all immediately? For me, and I have to think about that a little bit, but I still think I would rather have the $100,000 and every payment be delayed. Now, ideally, we want to do both. Like I said, you know what I'm saying? I want $100,000. I'd love for it all to come immediately upon, or prepaid or whatever, because, you know, it's all about understanding interest and things like that. If I have the money ahead of time, you know, for instance, if I get, somebody gives me $100,000 when I'm 75 years old, you know, I'm just hoping I can pay the bills, and you're just hoping you have enough money to live on the rest of your life. If somebody gives you $100,000 when you're 20 years old, now you may go blow it because you're 20 years old, but you might, if you're able to invest that or make a big down payment on a house, think of all the interest it would save you, or all the interest it would accrue over the course of that lifetime. So I mean, cash flow is important, and same thing with a business. You know, if I get all this money at the front of the year, well then that might, you know, save me some interest on something I was going to have to finance or something. You know, so there's a lot of positives to cash flow, and I don't want this to be a negative cash flow video. Same time, don't sell everything out in the name of cash flow. And in cash flow, like for I hear these commercials on TV, and they say, you know, come to such and such hotel, it's a one-night event, and so is going to tell you how to get involved in real estate and make millions of dollars with no money down. And I'm thinking in my mind, cash flow. I mean, this guy's going to tell you how to go buy this, you know, rental property with no money down and get it rented out, and then take that money and go buy another one and get it rented out. And as long as you got more money coming in than going out, you know, it's, to me, those things are very risky. And if I'm solely dependent on cash flow, I'm very uncomfortable with that. Like I said, I want to know that there's plenty of money coming in, and if that means I have to wait on a little bit, you know, that's fine. That being said, I do think, and I'll try to wrap this up, there's, when it comes to billing, like when I was doing a lot of mowing, I would, you know, let's say I cut somebody's grass in the month of April. Okay, so let's say I cut it 3 cuts in April. I send them a bill at the end of April. It may be the end of May before that bill would be considered late, you know, so there might be a 2-month delay in getting paid, you know. And so I do think that's something that's not great. Not necessarily that it took 2 months, which I don't like that either, but the fact that you might have already cut it 3 more times in May before you gotten paid. You might be 6 cuts in the hole before you actually get paid, and you know what? Some of them will cheat you and not pay you. So that's a problem on that end as well. So I think it's worth talking about cash flow. I think shortening the cash flow window as much as possible is very important. I just would not, and personally, I'm not willing to give up more than 5% in the name of cash flow. I don't think I've figured out this topic completely, so I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Tell me what you agree with, what you disagree with, how cash flow affects your lawn business. And if you haven't done so, I'd encourage you to subscribe to the channel. I'm always trying to provide helpful content for you. Here's some suggested videos you can check out. And there's also a link that goes to my website where I sell some products, including my letters package, where I include the prepay letter that I'm using for my business. So hope these resources are helpful to you. Thanks a lot.